What's up, guys? It's Emily, your coven leader of the Azura Media Club, back again to talk about some Office Space. Now, this movie is one of my favorite comedies of all time. And, my favorite movie of all time is a comedy, but this one for a different reason. This is such a relatable movie for anybody who's had a shitty day at work, and you have, or has just worked like a meaningless job, like some fucking restaurant job, or that was specifically me, was the restaurant job, that was my first like official job, was like this restaurant job, and I despised it after a while. I worked there for 10 years, and I'd say about half that time was pretty miserable. So, the thing is, like, it's so relatable in that way, and especially with that job. Sometimes I would come home after that job and just throw on this movie, because, it really, that scene where they're, like, killing the printer or whatever, that's basically what this movie is for me. It's that, like, kind of catharsis, in terms of just, like, a release, somebody else gets it. And it's Mike Judge, who I used to not like that much, and, now I have an appreciation for his humor. And he does a lot of smart humor in movies like Office Space. So I really appreciate that. And he even makes a cameo later as the boss of Jennifer Aniston's character, whose name I can't think of at the minute. Anyway, yeah. So this guy, Peter Gibbons, he works this, like, dead-end job. It's like, it's a 90s movie, too, so it's, like, right at the turn of the millennium, or whatever. And he's basically updating bank software for when the year switches over to 2000, because they just do 2 digits instead of, like, having the full year there, so then, like, Y2K or whatever, which is just funny. So, which apparently kids don't know what the fuck Y2K is now, because I tried to explain it to somebody and they're like, I didn't know what that was, basically, so whatever. Anyway, so, what's funny is I brought up actually, I didn't bring up a line. One of my coworkers said not a line from this movie, he just said, like, out of the blue, he was talking about, like, a storage unit that he owns or something, and he's like, was pissed off at it, and he's just like, I'll just burn the place down. And I thought he was referencing Office Space, the line from Milton there. And I tried to, like, say, oh, is that the line from Office Space? And he's like, I've never seen that. And I'm like, you haven't seen fucking Office Space? That's, like, a great movie. And this other guy I work with is, like, kind of like the real life, like, fucking, hey, Peter, man! He's that guy, like, Lawrence. He's like the real life Lawrence in a way, it's fucking A, I love that, but, anyway, he's like, oh man, these guys gotta see Office Space, because, like, I asked, like, a lot of people, and, like, none of them had seen it, and so I bought this DVD for, like, super cheap on eBay, and I, like, passed it around to a couple people I work with, and, yeah, so, and they all loved it, which is great. I fucking love Office Space. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's such a relatable comedy. There's so many quotable lines from it, like, I don't know, just so many, like, PC Load Thunder, what the fuck is that, Why does it say there is a paper jam, but there is no paper jam? I feel that every day, like I use a printer. Just the printer scenes alone, everyone can relate to that shit, right? Fucking, I love all of the scenes where, like, he's just talking about how much he hates his job, and he's just like, especially the first scene with him and Jennifer Aniston, he's like, I don't think I'm gonna go into my job anymore. And she's like, won't you get fired? And he's like, yeah, I don't know, but I just don't really feel like going anymore. And she's like, so you're gonna quit? And he's like, no, I'm just not gonna go anymore. She's like, well, what about bills and stuff? And he's like, I never really liked paying bills. I don't think I'm gonna do that either. It's great. My interpretation of the scene, because he goes to this occupational hypnotherapist because he hates his job or whatever, and my interpretation of that scene, when he's trying to relax him, basically, is he's taking on all of the stress that Peter has, and that's why he has, like, the heart attack or whatever, you know, and dies because this guy is so stressed, and he gets a taste of that, and that kills him basically. It's kind of my interpretation of that whole set of events there. But he's got these two friends, Michael and Samir, who also work there. Michael Bolton, and everyone loves to give him, like, not shit about it, but, like, everyone, like, Michael Bolton, is that your real name? You know, like, they're all thinking he's, like, related to the singer, and you see the, you know, exasperation on his face, and he's like, no, it's just a coincidence. So that's a running bit throughout the movie. Like, when he's interviewing for his job, they're like, I'm a huge Michael Bolton fan, and, oh, it must be way harder for you, because you know, you have the same name and everything, and he's like, what's your favorite song by him? And he's like, yeah, I'm just, kind of like them all. Kind of like them all. No, yeah, that's me too, you know. I celebrate the guy's entire history, and he just fucking hates Michael Bolton because he has the same goddamn name as him, so. Where's my... Okay. Yeah, so that's funny. There's just so many funny... Oh, Milton as a character, you know, like... Oh, I haven't received my paycheck. I need my stapler. Hello? Excuse me. Sometimes I'll just do that to the guy that I work with, and he just finds that so funny. Love Milton. You gotta love Milton. I mean, he just gets so shat on the entire movie, but he gets his revenge by the end. You know, he makes off pretty good. So, at first it's just kind of a lot of that, like, you know, a lot of Peter hating his job, and then eventually after he goes to the occupational hypnotherapist, he just kind of doesn't care anymore, and he's always talking about how he wants to go and ask this girl out, and he never had the confidence to do it, and then after that he's just loose as a bird. He goes and asks her out, you know, hey, what are you doing for lunch? And she just, like, gives him the role because he thinks, you know, she thinks that he's just trying to order lunch, and then he, like, goes up to her again. He's like, I was asking what you're doing for lunch. Do you want to have lunch with me? And she's like, oh, I don't know if that's allowed. And he's like, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go next door, and you come and, you know, you can come and hang out and do lunch. Or if not, no big deal, you know? And then she's just like, okay. And then she comes and hangs out with him, and then they start bonding over shit like kung fu and stuff. It's great, you know? It's a nice little romance sub-arc in this hilarious movie about working a fucking dead-end job, you know? And, you know, it's like, we all are there at one point or another. There's actually some poignant lines, too. A couple of poignant lines about working sort of a dead-end job. I like the one at the end there, or near the end, where, like, Jennifer Aniston's like, you know, like, Peter, most people don't like their jobs, but you go out there and you find something that you really like, and you do it, you know? And he's like, I may not like my job, but I think if we could be together, I could be happy with that, you know? I could be happy with my life, is what he says. And that's great. There's a line earlier when they, like, find out, like, Michael and Samir have, like, lost their jobs, and then, like, Peter's actually getting promoted even though he hasn't been there that often, or whatever. And he's like, talking to Michael, and he's like, when I saw that fat man keel over Michael, I realized we don't have a lot of time on this earth, you know? We weren't meant to be spending it this way in cubicles, and I'm like, god damn, that is poignant. That is very true, you know? So, but what can we do, right? It's capitalism, man. We have to go and do the job because that's how it works. That's how shit works. It's fucked. But yeah, so it's got some, like, nice stuff like that in there too. I wouldn't say it's like a deep movie or anything. You know, it's got a few moments like that, a little smart humor there, and just a lot of scenes that are hilarious, you know. Everything else is super funny. Every moment of this movie is super memorable, you know. It's like, it's all really relatable too, which is fantastic. So they come up with this idea, Michael does. He got the idea from Superman 3. Basically, where you cut little, they have little pieces of pennies, not even a penny, but like a little fraction of a penny. You know, I can let Peter explain it. All right, so it's like a fraction of a penny, and I can't do the whole thing, but anyway. And Jennifer Aniston's like, "You're stealing, right?" And she's like, "No, I'm not explaining it well. You know, you can take a penny from the tray. You mean the jar for the crippled kids? No, that's the jar. We're talking about the tray, you know? The penny's for everyone. That's one penny. We're just taking fractions of pennies. And over time, it becomes a lot of money. So you're getting a lot of money that's not yours, yeah? And it becomes ours. Wasn't that stealing? So she's kind of like the voice of reason, like, hey, don't do it because it's a bad idea. And it ends up like their software to make this thing happen, like, kind of goes off the rails or whatever, and like withdraws like $300,000 instead of, like, I assume what was meant to be like $300 or something, so so then the movie becomes about them, like, trying to figure out, like, how do we get rid of this, or can we give it back or whatever. And Peter ends up, like, trying to take the blame for everything, but then the building burns down because of our B plot with Milton there, because they keep pushing him around, and he's just finally had enough at the end there. He's like, I'm gonna burn the place down, and then he fucking burns the place down. Milton is hardcore, and he takes all the traveler's checks or whatever that fucking Peter was trying to return back to them, and just goes and fucking has a vacation with it. It's great. It's a great ending. It's a great movie. There's so many great lines, like I keep saying. I'm trying to think of some, but there's just so many. So, oh, the whole bit with the TPS reports, of course, at the beginning there. And then, like, his 8 bosses keep calling him, and then I love when he's explaining it to the Bobs too. He's like, and when I make a mistake, I've got 8 bosses to report. Beg your pardon? Oh, yeah, 8 bosses, Bob, that all call me to tell me I made this mistake, Oh, it's a great... Okay, so they go to this, like, they go to Tchotchke's there at the very beginning, and they're all, like, they all have coffee, right? And if you watch this, like, you're not really paying attention to that. Usually you're paying attention to what they're saying. But, like, Michael is, like, he like, opens, like, 7 packs of sugar and just dumps it in there. And if you watch Samir, he does the same thing, but with, like, creamer. Like, a ton of them, and he just dumps them in there. And they're all talking about, like, Peter's like, yeah, I know why I work at Initech, because I'm a pussy or something. And he's like, well, I don't, their other two are like, well, yeah, I work here, but I don't consider myself a pussy. And they're like dumping all of this, like, sugar and this creamer into the fucking coffee and shit. It's just hilarious. I think it's really funny. Small detail that you would definitely miss. I missed that until, like, a few watchings in. I love showing this movie to people because it's just so funny, and it's very relatable, So, yeah. And I love how, like, he's telling Lawrence and stuff about... And he keeps saying, like, fucking A. And then at the end, he's like, fucking A, man. And he's like, fucking A. When he says it, it's just great. I love that so much. Oh my god, they're playing the Persona 4 music now. God damn. Love Persona 4. Anyway, so... Yeah. So back in the day, when I had that job, and I would just come home and watch this movie, and it would quell my depression about working a shitty job for a couple minutes, for an hour and a half. And brevity, also. An hour and a half movie, of course. That's a good length for a comedy. Short, sweet, to the point. But it is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely perfectly done. And maybe a lot of it wouldn't land today, because it's like a 90s movie. But like... I grew up in the 90s, so I, like, appreciated that more. When I was a little kid, I didn't really understand this movie, but then as soon as you start working jobs, you fucking understand this movie. It's so relatable, so, yeah, you can't beat Office Space. It's just such a great movie. There's, like, all these fucking, like, really, like, crazy rap songs and shit in here. It's just, that's a weird choice for a soundtrack, but sure, yeah, go for it. There's just so much iconic shit, and so much memeable shit, like, Oh yeah, like the whole lumber thing. Yeah, if you could just go ahead and, everyone uses that. Everyone loves that, so fucking evil boss, and like everyone has experience with that, like having a boss that you just kind of fucking is a dick, it's just like that, and coming to work in on Saturday and like just really being like downtrodden about your job. I feel like it captures that so well. Very good characterization for all of our characters here, and you see it from a different angle with like Jennifer Aniston's character too, and so that's nice. Um, yeah. So I guess that's kind of it. I don't want to like do every joke from the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie. It's amazing, and it's so rewatchable. It's so funny. This is the kind of movie you put on, and it just brings a smile to your face. It gives you a little life for a little bit. Like definitely holds up like really well, and it's just hilarious, and it's a good time. So yeah, love it. Love Office Space. It's great. So one of my favorite comedies of all time. A great 90s movie, great movie about working a shitty job. Very relatable. I'm glad a movie like this even got made, It's just like such a weird premise for a movie, but it's also not. It's also like an obvious place to go for a premise for a movie, like, so I love it. You love it. We all love it. Milton, oh, get burn the taste down. Stapler, my stapler. Um, yeah, great movie. So, 10 out of 10. Until next time, this is Emily, Azura Media Club. Stick around, subscribe to join the Batgirl Coven. Never forget that magic comes from the heart, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Emily out.